Hey everybody, how you doing? Uh, Mr. Knapp and I, we miss you guys a lot. We are going to continue reading the books though. Uh, I'm going to be reading the next chapter in Red Kayak. I believe this is chapter 13. And before I begin reading, I wanted to let you guys know that Priscilla Cummings, who is the author of Red Kayak, we reached out to her about being able to do these kind of recordings, and she gave us permission. So that's pretty cool. And so we are reading this with her permission. Chapter 13. It was a hot day that Saturday. I had mowed the lawn the weekend before, so Mrs. D'Angelo said that she had something else for me to do. Down at the dock, she said. There's a lovely old boathouse that we've never cleaned out. She didn't realize that I knew that old boathouse like the back of my hand. When Digger's grandfather owned the property, J.T. Digger and I played pirates in that boathouse and used our dinghy for the pirate ship. I wondered if you could get things into some kind of order, Mrs. D'Angelo said. Pull everything out, sort it. If there's anything salvageable, put it aside. Make a pile for the dump, and then just rake up around there. It's just such a mess. Sure, I replied. Another thing, she said. I'm going to be away for a couple of days. You will? I was surprised. Yes, she started to smile. Thanks to your mother. She's the one who talked a little sense into me. I'm going to go into Washington. My husband and I have been talking. We need to figure out what we're going to do. I was confused. What I mean, she explained, is that there is another baby on the way and we need to prepare for that. A baby? I was stunned. She dropped her eyes. We'll never get over what happened, Brady. Never. Looking up at me, she added, but life does go on. I must have stood there with my mouth hanging open because Mrs. D'Angelo slowly grinned at my reaction. Your mother knows about the baby, and now you do too. Wow. I mean, congratulations, I stammered. Truly, I was happy for her. That's really good news. Yes, she glanced around her. Well, anyway, Brady, would you mind just coming over and checking on things while I'm gone? Not at all. You could turn the sprinkler on in the evening, maybe, and, take the mail and newspapers in. I'll be away until Tuesday. No problem, I said, beaming. It's no problem at all. She touched my arm. Thanks. You have been such a big help to me. I took a rake and a couple big garbage bags and headed on down the hill behind the three-car garage to the dock. The D'Angelo's sailboat bobbed nearby in its slip, and their powerboat sat gleaming on a boat lift beside it. On shore was a dark green canoe flipped over, and off toward some bushes were two wooden sawhorses a few feet apart. The sawhorses were where Mr. D'Angelo had rested the red kayak when it was out of the water. Opening the door to the boathouse, I stepped inside. Besides a lot of dust, a bunch of old memories drifted around me. Not just the pirate games we used to play, but the morning JT cut his knee on a piece of broken glass and had to get stitches, and the time Digger ran away from home and made a bed for himself on a bunch of empty grain sacks in one corner. I had to shake my head, remembering how we all brought him food, sandwiches and cookies and stuff, but his sojourn didn't last much beyond dinner time. When bats start flying around at dusk, he got scared and went on home. Peering inside a wooden barrel full of baling twine, I recalled the rope ladders we used to make for our pirate getaways and how one time the flimsy twine ladder broke, sending me into the water with a big splash while JT and Digger howled from the dock above. I needed to plow through the nostalgia and get to work. But where would I start? Junk in that boathouse was piled 10 feet high. Old wicker lawn furniture, tattered fruit baskets, a large cracked headboard. Overwhelmed, I decided to clean around the outside first. Grabbing the rake, I began pulling debris away from the sides of the boathouse. Dried up leaves, piles of brush, big pieces of plastic from a kid's old swimming pool. It wasn't going to be easy or fun. I concluded pretty quickly, but I gritted my teeth and went at it so I could knock off and go home early. Goodbye, Brady, Mrs. D'Angelo called out from the hill. She had sunglasses on, her hair up in a little bun, a tote bag in her hand. I waved back. Have a good trip. After she left, I went clear down one side of the boathouse, raking, making piles, periodically stuffing the junk into one of the two black leaf bags. Already, sweat was trickling down my face and neck. My hands were slick inside the heavy work gloves that I wore. I took them off so my hands could breathe for a while, tossed the gloves on the nearby tree stump, and took a long drink of ice water from the plastic jug that I had brought with me. Out of the blue, I smiled. Truth was, I was pretty happy about the baby. Now, I knew it wouldn't replace Ben, but it had to help. Started whistling a song I liked from the radio as I went back to work. It was when I turned the corner of the boathouse and pulled the rake through a tangle of prickers that I saw something reflect in the sun. At first, I thought it might be a knife, some kind of a silver knife. I stopped whistling, but when I reached over to pull it out of the weeds, I saw it wasn't a knife at all. It was a drill, my father's cordless drill, the one that he had been missing a while back. I held it. I let the rake fall because I could see that there were flecks of red paint on the drill bit. I swallowed hard. Flecks of red that looked as though they might even be the same color as the red kayak. Was it possible? Instinctively, I looked around to see if somebody might be watching me. My heart started pounding. Did someone drill holes in the kayak to make it sink? Was it Marcellus? Is that why it had disappeared? No, I quickly decided it couldn't be. Because if Marcellus did it, why would he use one of my father's tools? In a sort of daze, but still holding the drill, I stumbled back to the front of the boathouse and I sat down on the wooden steps leading up to the door. As I did, my mind raced backward almost an entire year to when the D'Angelos first bought the property from Digger's grandfather. They had just begun construction of the house, but they had left a canoe on shore and their sailboat at the dock. It was early evening that summer day last year. We three, JT, Digger, and I, had just come over to the beach beneath the bluff for a swim. It was the D'Angelo's property, yes, but only a week before it had belonged to Digger's grandfather, and many times we had come to swim in the little cove to cool off. The water was shallow, and the way the beach curved made it private, too. Digger was down in the dumps that day about his grandfather having to let go of the place, and we could see how it was really eating him up. He wouldn't even come into the water with us. He sat on the beach stewing while JT and I swam around, splashing and dunking each other. We really felt sorry for Digger, though. A little sorry for ourselves, too, I guess, because it meant the end of swimming over there. After coming up on shore, we dried off with the towels we had brought and aimed a few small rocks toward the D'Angelo's sailboat. One of the stones Digger threw pinged off the metal mast. Bastards, he had cried. Hey, I got an idea, I told him, tossing a glance at the sailboat. Let's go get my father's drill and put a few holes in her hull. Cool, JT had exclaimed. Then, when they come for a little day sail, they'll realize they aren't going anywhere. Digger had looked at me, but he wasn't laughing. No, that's stupid. The sailboat would just sink. It's got to be something worse than that. Okay, I said. Then we can put holes in that canoe instead. What you do is you fill the holes back in with this water based glue that my dad has in the workshop, mixed in with some of the residue from what you drilled out so nobody can tell. Maybe dab it over with a green marker. And then, after he's out on the water about 30 minutes, the glue gives way, the water comes in, and he goes swimming. Digger had stared past me with an intense look on his face. Ouch! I'd cried because JT had suddenly whipped me across the back of my legs with his towel. Grabbing my own towel, I had sprinted after him down the beach. As I sat on the steps of the boathouse, remembering, goosebumps popped up on my arms, and an awful scenario washed over me like a sudden chill, weakening my muscles and nearly taking my breath away. My God, I uttered, staring with horror at the drill in my hands. Did Digger have something to do with sinking the kayak?